trouble with the microphone. We'll do a quick review, innovation in the ancient world, and then we'll take a break and go to the main lecture. So remember, Rome is the original open innovator. Open innovation is extremely important. We talked about how there are many city-states, different city-states in the Italian peninsula, and they're all competing, but the one that really came to the forefront was, of course, the one around Rome. And that, of course, became the Roman Empire. So why was that? It created a very good framework for innovation. It was a management of innovation. We're in a management class, we're in a business school. How do we manage innovation? It's exactly to Maksat's point. We put money in something, government puts money in something, your company puts money in something, you may be CEO, you put money in something. How do you know you're going to be innovating? As opposed to creating jobs or creating work or just, moving money around and not really getting the innovation result. Well, they managed this innovation through their legal system that allowed for many ideas to come to the city-state, which fits into this theory of innovation that we are developing based on evolution, in which you can have an important element of phenotypic variation. I can tell you something very interesting. I know this is going to be very strange. Is this Solbridge class in total, the students in this Solbridge class will be more innovative than students at another university that I teach. I'm not going to name the university, which is an all Korean university. That doesn't mean that the Korean students, and we have Korean students in the Solbridge class, of course, but that doesn't mean the Korean students are not innovative or smart or whatever, but we have more diversity in this Solbridge class. So I can tell you it's highly likely that the Solbridge class will be more innovative, come up with more different ideas and so forth in aggregate than a comparable group in a 100% Korean university, even very top, prestigious, whatever, smart people. So how can you create that variation? And that's a very important principle. The Romans did it, and it's a very important principle on this three-part theory of innovation. So let's go to a little bit more detail. We talked about Leonardo da Vinci as a true convergence of science and art. He had a relentless curiosity, which is this week's topic, this week's presentation. I really want you to practice being curious. They often say innovation is like being like a child. Steve Jobs was like a child. All of you are at a very interesting stage in your careers in the university. You're becoming professionalized. You're getting, you're adults and becoming more professional and all this kind of stuff. It's weird if I tell you, oh, go back to when you were in elementary school. Go back to when you were a child. That's not, what the purpose of university of education is. The purpose of university education is to make people more adult, less like children, more like adults, more professional. And that's a good thing. I'm not objecting. But when it comes to innovation, think about when you were 6 years old, 7 years old. You're curious about the world. I remember thinking, why does gravity work? Why do we stick to the ground? Why don't we just float? These are stupid questions. You can't, not stupid questions, but you can't spend your whole life thinking about these questions. That's why we become adult, because we learn as children. But if you want to think new and think different, you got to go back. And so Leonardo da Vinci was very curious. Everything was new. He wasn't bored of, things so easily like that. So seeing more, that's assignment number 2, observation. Thinking bigger, that's assignment number 3, passion. Making connections, as you can see, embracing paradox and being courageous. We talked about the Mona Lisa as a convergence of science and art to create an amazing work of art, but also combining anatomy and understanding of science and light and vision and so forth to create the mysterious paradox that is indeed the Mona Lisa. And then Michelangelo, of course, being very competitive, internalizing competition and challenge Also scientifically minded. We think of him as an artist, but he was very much a scientist. So just to summarize some key lessons learned from these Renaissance inventors and innovators. So be curious, seek knowledge for its own sake. I kept emphasizing about the grading. We're going to have to grade this class. Some of you will get A, some of you will get B, some of you get C. That is going to be related to, doing assignments, and certain criteria, etc. It may not actually be related to innovation ability, because, the innovation ability is not just following directions and doing everything, perfectly. It is actually trying to learn, to make mistakes, and being courageous and doing things differently, etc. So it's very difficult to grade that. So I actually hate grading this class, because I know that the grade is not always equal to, what is your innovation capability. There's some correlation perhaps, but maybe not as much in other classes. If you're taking accounting class and you get a poor grade in accounting class, there's probably a good chance you're not good at accounting. If you take an accounting class and a finance class and you get an A in finance class, there's probably a good chance you're going to be good at finance. But innovation class, unless, even if you get a good grade, but you're not interested in innovation, you just did it to do the good grade, like seeking knowledge for its own sake, you're not going to be innovative. It's like what I was answering Maksat. If you're doing the government grants for innovation, but you're just doing the grants and you know how to fill them out and impress the bureaucrats, but not really innovate, you're going to get all these government grants, but you're not going to be an innovator. You're going to get a good grade, but you're not going to be an innovator. Retain a childlike sense of wonder, as we mentioned. Observation is very key. Next week's assignment is especially important. You noticed that when I noticed the microphone was not working and you told me the microphone was working, I'm thinking, what could it be? Oh, I did something at the same time. Maybe it was, updating the software in the background. That was very strange to me. I have it in my mind that observation could lead to, something, interesting. I don't know. I mean, I used to be an IT person, but I don't do that now. So always observing. Start with details. See things unseen. Get distracted. Respect facts. Very important to obviously be testing with reality. In other words, if something's not working, then you have to think of another approach, and that thinking another approach is very important for innovation. I know this sounds a little bit strange, but to procrastinate, not to procrastinate and play video games all day, but maybe to think about things, and not necessarily do last minute, but to let many different concepts come together and give that time to do things. Sometimes it's very important to be very productive and get things early. It's very impressive, and your boss likes that. Your teacher likes that. This student doesn't give the assignments at the deadline. They give it, the day after I assign it. They're incredible. But that's really good at executing, but maybe it's not so good at innovating. You need some time and experiences to maybe make it a more innovative project. So think visually is very important. Avoid silos, being in particular areas. Let your reach exceed your grasp. Always think about something extra. Don't just take the face value. Indulge fantasy, create for yourself, not just for patrons, not just for your boss, not just for the government, but for yourself. So if the government is always, and I'm not complaining, I said it's controversial, but I just want to point out that more money doesn't necessarily mean more innovation. So if you're doing it for the government's sake, you may not be so innovative. But if you're innovative because you want to have that passion, that's assignment number 3, you have a greater chance of being innovative. Collaboration is very key. And writing down and making lists and always noting things. And be open to the mystery. That's next week's assignment, the observation and the mystery. Why did my microphone suddenly go out like that. That was very strange. Now, if I'm an evil person, there's some hacking. Obviously, some software somewhere influenced the microphone. So if I'm a hacker mindset and I want to innovate hacking, maybe I can use an installation program. It's influencing the microphone. Somehow there's a connection. So I can listen to that target later. I'm influencing their microphone. There is some sort of bug in this system related to software installation, likely. Again, we need to respect facts. We don't know yet, so we have to test it, etc. But that could be an evil form of innovation or a good form. I don't know. Maybe we can avoid it if we understand the problem. So that was a mystery to me, and I'm always open to this mystery, and that helps me to innovate. So to summarize, we have these three features of a theory of innovation. If we specifically talk about the Roman, we have the differential fitness, going out and into the real world, implementing these ideas, etc. The phenotypic variation coming, many different people coming into Rome, and of course the Roman roads and books, etc., were also very important for hereditability of fitness. So they had the whole package according to this theory of innovation. And I wanted to end this introductory with this note: Ancora imparo, yet I am learning, from Michelangelo at age 87. I think that's a really important quote that inspires me. I'm always learning. I try to be, and that's what I think contributes to my being innovative. So obviously, this is important. This is obvious in your life now. You're students, so you have to be learning, right? But you have to think this also 10 years from now. You will be senior position in a company 20 years from now, CEO at a company. If you're not learning, you won't have an innovative company. I'm not saying you'll be a bad CEO or anything, but if you're interested in innovation, which I think we'll talk about, obviously, as I said, is really important, then that won't be as strong. So that's the review and the discussion. Any other thoughts on this question of, is Korea most innovative? Any other thoughts on what we talked about?